Has been properly noticed, and roll call, please. The roll call will show that all three committee members are here, and we do have our village engineer Kevin with us, and our public works director Mark is with us. So
That's all right, training, yeah. Add that to the training brochure.
I'll do that.
the minutes from our last meeting, which was held on 18 January, have been distributed for review. Any additions or corrections to those minutes?
Done. Motion to approve the minutes of 18 January 2011.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded to approve the minutes. All in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign, and that is carried. And now we will segue right to our village engineer. St. Croix Station Project Phase 2 update.
Quick update on where we're at in regards to the St. Croix Station project. I passed out a memorandum. Kind of put some dates to where we're headed, some of the deadlines per se that we're looking at. And I guess the first thing is, obviously we're looking at bidding the project out. So there's the advertisement, we have to have to the newspaper on March 25th, and then the ad will be in the local newspaper on March 31st and April 7th, with a bid opening on the 14th of April. And then those bid results will be brought back to the Public Works meeting in April on the April 19th. If the numbers come in good, there's a recommendation from the Public Works Committee that'll go forward to the Village Board meeting on May 7th for their
Kevin,
consideration.
I'm sorry, can I
Sure.
just interrupt you as far as the advertisement phase of this? Don't you also list this on, don't you have a website that lists this for bidding on public projects? So it's not just the
Yeah.
local paper. We have it dispersed fairly widely for contractors to see?
Yeah, it'll actually be on our webpage where they can actually look at the advertisement and then download the plans and specs per se. It goes to two of the building exchanges that are out, one, Clare and one out of the cities. And then we typically will send out the advertisement to the main contractors that we work with, to kind of give them a heads up this project is coming forth for bidding purposes, So yeah, it's not only the local newspaper, there'll be other different areas that we'll be sending the ad out to. So then, construction-wise, thinking about a month and a half to 2 months on that, from June to July, and then August, project closeout, preparing the final assessment report, and then in September, then that will come forth to the village board for potential adoption and the resolution that goes along with it, so.
And again, along the lines of discussion that we've had at the board level, advertising for bids and opening of bids and review of bids still does not mean that we're going to award bids.
Correct.
I mean, we likely will, but this is not an automatic
Oh,
that we have started down a track from which we could not stop.
yes.
Yeah.
Depending on how the numbers come in.
Right.
Probably dictate on if we're gonna move forward or not.
Okay.
So. That's about all I have on that item, if there's any other questions.
Any questions, comments? Any member?
Well, run her down.
Okay.
Get her done.
All right, thank you.
Price of blacktop's going up, I'm sure of that.
Yeah, it is.
That's the big unknown.
Agenda item number 4, 2011-2012 street sweeping contract. Boy, say that 3 times fast. I'm sorry.
All of you have a packet in front of you, maybe underneath your agenda. Basically what this is a letter with the rate, $86 per hour for a street sweeper from Michael Phillips Incorporated, which has been doing work for us for a number of years. Basically, this is the same rate as, same rate they've given us since 2008. And actually, the 2008 rate was $86, so 2007 rate was $87. But this is the Same rate we've had for a number of years.
And the amount of work that in total they would do under a contract at an hourly rate is controlled by you, Mark?
Correct.
So in other words, if there's a decision
They
to,
within our budget.
right,
The only time that'll different is if we have some type of, reason that we have to have a sweeper in more often, like, when we had the highway resurfaced, we actually had to bring in a sweeper to clean up the side streets, stuff like that, but otherwise, we do our normal 2 to 3 sweepings a year.
have you ever had any difficulty with McPhillips? I mean, they seem to,
We've
Do
had
good
no,
work.
I've had no problems with them as far as if they do have a piece of equipment that goes down, they do not charge us for downtime, plus what they usually do is when that sweeper goes back to the garage, another sweeper's brought in right away to finish up the project, so.
so the appropriate action, if there's agreement from the committee members, would be to recommend to the full board the continuation of the relationship with McPhillips at the quoted rate of $86 an hour.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to recommend to the village board the continuation of the contract with Mike McPhillips Incorporated at the indicated $86 an hour. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, and that is carried. Storm sewer catch basin on 8th Street and Summer Street, the intersection. Mark?
I would say if you've been on Summer Street, you probably noticed that there's a barricade, foxicade up there on the southeast corner of the intersection. A couple weeks ago, we developed a small sinkhole forming in that intersection near the catch basin. It's been steadily growing. To the point where we had to fill it with gravel. I did request a price from Gary Zappa to basically replace the entire catch basin structure. The entire structure is in fairly poor shape. If we were gonna be doing some kind of street project, within the next couple of years in that area, I'd probably hold off, but since we're not planning on anything, I believe the best thing to do is just to replace the entire structure at this time, also the base course around it. So this price includes a complete replacement of that structure.
Would the sinkhole have been caused by the spring melt and runoff?
What it is, yeah, it's just basically, it's in, with the void that was under, it's been happening, it was most likely going on a couple of years, and it just now deteriorated to a point where it's totally undermined that section of the street. It's actually, we packed underneath, gravel underneath when we filled it, because there is quite a void underneath there, so. But it can be all repaired once there's new structure stuck in, and it can be recompacted and new blacktop, new base, stuff like that.
Okay. Any comments or discussion from the committee?
Now, does that come out of,
That will come out of the new storm sewer utility fund.
which there is money in there, right?
Not much, but
Chair would entertain a motion to recommend this to the board for approval, if that's your pleasure.
I'll make a motion to replace the catch basin, and we don't need to swallow up a couple cars like they had in Milwaukee, so I mean.
Isn't that something? One of the cars that went in, that guy it was his car, and he was not too far away. He sees his car disappear in the hole in the street.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to recommend to the village board the replacement of the catch basin at 8th Street and Summers at a cost not to exceed $3,993. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, and that is carried. Skid loader exchange possibility.
some of you that have been on the,
Done this before.
yeah, basically since 2007, we've been in a program with Value Implement that each year we replace our existing skid steer with a new skid steer. And what it is, it's for a rate of, during the last couple of years, it's been at a rate of $10 per hour. That's on the hour meter on the machine. So this year, roughly with the winter we've had, well, basic history on this thing, normally we exchange every November. And this past November, due to basically New Holland, with the economy being the way it was, they weren't having as many machines manufactured and sent out, everything else, so we were actually stuck, asked if we could hold off and exchange our machine later, which I agreed to, but the thing is that kind of hurt us on this is, with the winter we had, we stuck on a lot more hours moving snow on that thing, so it did bring the hour meter up, so. Last year, I believe when we traded the machine off, it was, we had about 110 hours. This year, when we go to trade her off right now, we're sitting at about 270 on that machine. But basically what it is it's, from what they were supposed to have the paperwork to me on the machine, they didn't have it. Basically, it's about a $38,000 machine, and we could pick it up for $2,700 would be our cost. And again, it would be back with a warranty program, everything else. Our the skid steer we have now is actually at value. We had to run it down there this morning because we had a little problem with the wiring harness on it, everything else. And they're saying the warranty is over, but I tried to explain to them, well, it was you guys' idea that we keep this machine until March, so we're still talking on that. So, but right now the cost for a new machine will be the $2,700.
Well, hold tough to that, make sure that would be the quid pro quo on our doing
Yeah,
the deal.
that's kind of what, right now it's, but myself and the sales manager is gonna be sitting down and talking about that. The only reason I'm bringing this up to you right now and ask you to pass this on to board is I'm hoping to actually have the paperwork for you for the board meeting so we can get the new machine ordered and get it in here before we stick too many more miles on, or hours on the old machine, the existing one.
Mm-hmm. And would you attribute most, if not all, of that increase in the hour meter to the winter that we had?
The snowfall we had, that machine
I've
was on,
noticed you
that
in the-
machine was
in
on
the
the road.
intersections, yeah.
Clean out intersections, clean out hydrants, catch basins. It's been on the road a lot this year.
Yeah.
Typically got rid of them in November, so
Yep.
you had an extra 5 months to
Yep.
put some time
Yeah,
on
we had
it.
an extra 5 months. Usually it
But on
It
this
usually
machine-
sits around except for if it's loading, or sometimes on the street, but not as much as it has
So
been
in
this winter.
essence, the hours, if we were sticking with this program on a regular basis, we're really not paying more. It only because we get clipped $10 an hour
It's just use it.
anytime we have it. So just
Yeah.
because we had this one 5 months longer, it seems like we're paying more. But if you prorate those hours, if we would have traded in November, it'd just be on
Yeah,
the next
yeah,
machine.
yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah, no,
saying?
it's-
It's a little
Follow that.
misleading.
No matter what, it would be.
$10 an hour is $10 an hour, you
Yeah.
know, I mean, and,
Yeah, for a
let's see,
$38,000
compared to,
machine, you can pick up
yeah.
2,700. That's a pretty
yeah,
good.
considering buying it, you know, with the
Yeah.
present numbers that we got, no, I mean, there's no way,
No, we own it.
I
Oh,
definitely,
we do own it.
We own it.
We own the machine. It's just we get to trade it in, everything for
get-
this
it's
hour
the
thing.
trade-in
It is the
value.
village's machine. We insure it. We do everything else.
oh, okay.
It's a purchase piece.
Yeah.
But it would normally never go out of warranty, see?
Yep.
No, that's, that,
Yeah.
And the warranty.
It's a good program.
that's a
It's a good
no-brainer
program.
there, I
It's-
mean.
Very good
It's
program.
all right. I like it, my 2 cents is because we don't have a facility to work on them or fix them.
Yeah.
The longer we run our own equipment, only it's gonna add
Right.
to the potential repair costs.
Yeah.
And so it might seem a little extravagant getting a new one all the time, but over time, I think it's a decent
You
program
don't have any
because,
maintenance expense.
yeah, eventually you're gonna have to pay the piper like we do with some of the
Yeah.
trucks that we're currently
Right.
having.
No,
Motion to recommend to the board?
I guess my motion would be that exchange of skid steer at the rate of $10 per hour of what's on the hour meter.
Mm-hmm.
Because what number I gave you, that's roughly what we have now. And if it's
Yeah.
gonna be a couple more weeks for us to
Whatever
have
the
this
time
thing, it's
is.
gonna change.
Whatever it is, yeah. Yep. Understand.
Here's a way to turn those back too.
I'll make the motion if, you know, I mean, that's not a problem.
Motion to recommend?
Second.
Second. All in favor, aye?
All right,
Opposed, same sign, carried. And you'll have the documentation for us to look at then? at
Yeah,
the
I will
board
not
meeting.
be at the board meeting on the 29th, but I will meet with you and I will make sure you have it.
Okay.
I'll be in training in Green Bay, so
Okay.
I'll be leaving that morning.
new linebacker?
What?
Gonna be a new linebacker?
No,
Oh,
Part-time seasonal employee position.
basically, this is just to let you know that we have this as a budgeted item to actually have somebody brought in as a seasonal part-time to help us out in the summer with parks and street maintenance, all this other stuff. This is just let you know that I will be advertising and, hoping to hire somebody to start right around the 1st of May.
Any possibility of the last season's employees coming back, or?
No, remember, we actually let him go, this, well,
Oh.
on his own request,
Oh.
basically.
Why don't we just wait and see what pops up this year would be best.
Anything from you, Stan?
As far as the employees, no, I mean, post it, advertise it, see what we get.
Okay. Do we need to take any action?
Well, the only thing is, like, one thing we discussed last year at You Change, usually, remember last year, I should say, 3 of us actually interviewed the potential. You had told me at the end of last year, you'd rather just have me handle it myself, so.
I would.
So
Yes.
if that's the action you want me to do, I
Yeah.
would just like to have you say something
Yeah.
for me to.
Yep, I don't think we need to be involved in interviewing a part-time employee.
Or we could leave it up to the chairman and you.
No, I think the Public Works Director handles this appropriately.
Do you need a second?
No, I think.
No, that works for me
on
too,
record doing
yeah.
it, Yeah,
That's
yeah.
just-
Go forth and
No,
take care of
Mark,
it.
he's gonna work for Mark, that's what he should be doing,
Exactly.
part-time.
We don't need to micromanage the process.
No, but I think we should note it as personnel changes on the board that
Make
it's
that
a-
part of
it's
the
a-
board
it-
report.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I'll
a
mention it at the board
continued
level.
practice.
Yeah. Kevin?
Just one item that I wanted to bring up, another handout that I gave the committee members is in regards to the, there was some discussion here, I think, a couple months ago about the grant, STP.
Yep.
Urban.
Yep.
Grant that the village received, and in front of you, the village received a letter from the DOT. Basically, this is the state municipal agreement.
Mm-hmm.
And it spells out what's been awarded. Remember, he applied for design and construction, and the design portion got approved, the construction did not. There is another round that's coming out here, thinking towards the end of the year. So, you know, that
And we've got
application.
2 years to do this? Is that the time cycle?
Actually, you have 6 years.
6 years?
6 years.
Is that a change?
Nope. Nope.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, so it is I mean, they do give you quite a bit of grace period for time frame. And on the second page, after the cover letter, on the agreement, up above, gives you an idea of where there's 6 years. So basically, you would have until June 30th of 2017. That's for design and construction of the project. They will allow you one extension. Obviously, you'd have to go through approval process on that. Typically, that's for another 3 years. So, if you look down below, summary of costs, again, we applied for 70,000. You got approved for that. So when you take the 80-20 split, 80% being federal funds, they'd be picking up 56,000, and then the municipal would be liable for 14, the remainder, $14,000. And that is for the curb, the design of the curb and gutter, asphalt, sidewalks, storm sewer. Under that, you know, as part of that project, you'd be looking at doing the sanitary sewer and the water main. Those funds for design would be 100% of the municipality's cost.
And I'm assuming that this is limited solely to the project on Wisconsin Street, just because we've been granted some award dollars
Yeah.
for planning,
Yeah.
that we couldn't say, all of a sudden, here's a street that we think is a lower Pacer rating, and let's do that one. It's strictly limited to this one?
Well, there is one, if you see on the first page there, I mean, there is a project substitution. I mean, you could be allowed.
Largest thing is, I believe that it has to be a collector street also, though.
Yeah, yep,
All this money stay on collector street.
yep. That's one of the requirements part of the STP. funding program. It has to be a collective
Okay.
street, what Mark was saying.
I wouldn't, if you're, yeah,
So, by signing this, if the village was to sign this, you're basically obligating the village to do the project. So,
you do what part of the project, the design part of it?
the design and construction portion of it, within that time frame.
The 6-year timeframe.
6 years, and then you can ask for an extension, which typically is about a 3 year, so, it could be 10 years out. So it obviously would have to be something that the committee
Some
would,
of us will be middle-aged by that time.
it typically through the design portion of it, that's usually about a 2 to 3 year process. So just so you accommodate enough time for that portion of it, and then you're looking for, another year for construction. So about a, 4-year period to do everything,
Okay.
Not so much looking for time as it is money.
Exactly.
right? Yeah. And,
I don't see this thing going down until somebody can put a crystal ball to the debt factor this we're carrying now, because this is not gonna be a small,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
small project.
no, it isn't. Estimate wise, I think I had about $400,000 for it. for
Well,
the
as a
project.
result of this notification that we've been approved for this grant for the planning during this cycle, what do we need to do at this point?
It's,
If
I mean, I
anything?
don't, timeline, I think you have, I mean, don't need to make a decision today.
I mean, this is mostly information. This has been approved during this cycle,
Yep.
okay? Set it on the shelf and see where it goes.
Yep, something you could maybe look at towards the end of the year, budget time, if you wanna, at least proceed with the design portion of it. I mean, you'd be obviously liable for the $14,000 plus whatever it is for the sewer and water portion. I mean, you're not obligating the whole construction project, but, and then in the meantime, with that next cycle that comes out for construction, at least we could apply for those dollars, which would be this fall.
Okay.
Just,
So
another
we're
round.
approved, we've got a grant for these dollars that have no real time limit,
Oh, 6 years.
6 years.
6 years.
Yep, it's part of the project,
Mm-hmm.
once you sign it. I mean, I think you have time, you don't, need to make a decision this month or next month, this fall would be sufficient.
What do you mean, once we sign for it? You mean, we have to sign accepting this grant?
Correct.
Yep,
There's a
Okay.
place where
And-
George
and-
actually has to accept.
Yeah, and if we accept it, then we're saying we will in fact do the project during that period of time?
that is correct.
I recall a year or two ago, there were some old
Yep.
projects that the state still was showing that we had some approved grants, but they were, way back, that
Way
we'd
back.
never done anything with.
Right,
So we said, no, those can go away, get them off the books, clean it up. So how was that different? How
See,
could we have been awarded a grant and then didn't do it and it just went away?
those projects, I don't think this agreement was ever signed. Those dollars were allocated, but the village never
Oh,
signed
okay.
off on the agreement. And it was sitting in a pot for so many years, and then, finally somebody said something if you wanted to use it, or,
Okay, then I guess the critical question is, how long do we have to decide whether or not we're going to sign the agreement?
I think you would have 6 months to a year to still make,
I was asking before, that
Yeah.
was my question. We have a grant available, but there is a time, there is a sunset to
Accepting it.
To accept
accept
it?
it.
Okay,
so I think, 6 months to a year, to make that decision if you do want to proceed with it. And still meet, their timeline of 6 years to get everything
Why don't you-
designed and constructed.
Why don't you check on that timeline, Kevin, get back to us, and if we have to stick it on the agenda for an upcoming meeting.
Yeah. So,
yeah, I guess we don't want to forget about it, but I don't know at this point that any of the three of us are ready to say, oh yeah, let's sign and say thank you very much for the money, for the planning, which obligates us to do the project.
Right. Yeah,
Not
Okay.
tonight.
All right.
no, and I.
Verify those timelines then and when we have to.
Sure.
All right.
Yep.
Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. Mr. Supervisor,
Just to inform you guys what the chance of upcoming high water, there is a chance that if we would get up to around the 690 elevation or anything else, 690, 691, we might have to set down sections of Riverside Drive.
the
which is-
690 right now is the forecast, isn't it?
Yeah. And if we get up around 690, 691, we will have to seal the manholes in sections of Riverside Drive and actually detour traffic onto St. Croix Street. Ellen.
When we seal a manhole, what does that physically involve?
Basically,
What do
we-
we do to keep that from blowing up then? Do we put
Well, no,
weights
what
on
it is actually you want to keep anything from infiltrating into the manhole.
Yeah,
So what we're doing is we
the
left the
same.
manhole set heavy mill poly down, set the cover back in and covered with a lot of sandbags. And actually keeps the water from going
Okay.
into manholes. What we're trying to do is protect, we don't want infiltration in the manhole, especially with the large lift station right there at Sally's Alley. It would, we don't want those pumps running all the time and burning up pumps. That's the biggest thing we're doing is,
Manholes are, well, they're not watertight
no,
completely anyway. I mean, it's just steel and steel, so it's.
Yeah, but what I was not understanding correctly, I thought we were sealing so that there wasn't the pressure
Don't blow 'em
from
up.
no.
below
Other,
to blow
we're
the
trying to
manhole.
keep stuff from
covers
going
up.
in,
Keep it going in.
Going in, okay, gotcha,
especially large volumes of water like that. So
okay,
just let you know, and we'll actually,
Storm sewers will come up.
yeah.
so the area we close it down is right where the bay is, right before you get to Sally's Alley. When you get close, that's the area that we have to close down. We already had a meeting this morning with myself, the chief, the village president, and both Gloria, and also we had the Christine from St. Croix County Emergency Management here.
If it would be at 690, where would it be in the Sally's Alley area?
Actually,
Where is
Sa-
690?
The lowest part where we actually see flooding, 690 will be getting just about to the pavement. If we go over 690 to 691, we'll actually have the water coming onto the blacktop, and that's when we'll get near the catch basins. We've had it where actually if it gets up to about 691, 691.5, we actually have water standing on the road and you're driving through it. And also, there's also where a small lift station is down at the end of, down towards the bottom part of Sally's, or down part of Riverside Drive, that also, there'll be manholes down there that'll have to be sealed, but we can't close that section of the road because people have to be able to get through there. But it is, you know.
So we close the sections of road just for, I mean, if you got 2 inches of water or
Yeah,
whatever.
basically, we try to keep people away from, basically off those as much as we can, but we do have to let the residents that live in those areas have it. Law enforcement, the chief already knows, they have it set up, their officers will make sure that people that are going, if they are driving through that area, they have a reason, like they live right in that area. So,
Mainly to keep the gawkers out.
the biggest thing is keep the joggers out. Number two is, if you have people driving through there, especially if they're driving through fairly fast, they can do damage to, the shoreline, damage to other properties, damage to the lift stations that are sealing the manholes. We actually had it in 2001 where a young resident tried driving through there with his mom's car and ended up hitting the sandbags that were guarding or protecting the manhole, so just.
Well, we still can't, we can't regulate stupid. That's not possible. So,
All we can do is put up the signs and hope they listen to it.
I was just curious. It's like, common sense isn't common anymore.
Although we do have some nanny state kind of things that
Stop it.
attempt to regulate stupid.
Well, we can stop that right here. That's what this group should be for. No nannies.
I hear you. Anything else, Mark?
The only thing else along with the flood, we will be making it, sand available once it comes to a point where people think they're gonna need the sandbag if required, and then also we will be providing sandbags here at the village hall if people want to come and pick up sandbags.
Do residents?
Yes. Actually, we'll have a lot more information for you on the board meeting as far as that.
How are the sandbags gonna get filled?
We will have, sand
Volunteers?
pile someplace, and if they want volunteers, or we actually have we have a setup that works pretty good where you can actually, we take a traffic cone, cut the top off, fill through the traffic cone, fill right into the bag. It works pretty slick. So, probably seen it. They've showed it on TV over at, they're volunteers doing it the same way.
I saw a thing on News Clip the other night of a machine that they've got up at Fargo.
Oh, yeah.
That's filling 1.5 million sandbags?
Yeah.
Man, that thing is quite an operation.
So right now we have about 2,800 sandbags in storage right now, so it should be more than enough to be able to get us through. We didn't use quite that many during the 2001 flood, so,
We give those away.
yes. And actually, once they're used, they're no longer any good, so you can't,
Oh.
Sandbags, once they're wet and everything else and they dry out, they biodegrade real quick and they start breaking down fairly quick, Just like they stay out in the sunlight for too long, they just.
Anything else from anybody?
No.
If not, we've completed our agenda and we are
Motion to
adjourned.
adjourn.